What's up, boys? Today we're going to see if you can beat Batman World of Tanks. Batman Arkham Knight without damaging property. Yes, zero property damage. Who do you think has to pay for damages every time a lunatic goes on a power trip in Gotham? This guy. That means no environmental damage to things like trees, city architecture, or construction equipment. No damage to property inside of buildings. I can't hit any cars with the Batmobile. Whenever I call for the Batmobile, it can't damage anything in the surrounding area either. Lastly, I can't miss bullets because they could potentially damage property. And if I damage something that I'm not supposed to, I have to restart from the last checkpoint. Why do I do this to myself? So sit back, relax, grab your favorite bat snacks, and watch me suffer to whore myself out for views and content. Starting off, we're in the Batmobile for the first pursuit mission of the game, and I'm trying my best not to fail in the first 5 seconds. After that victory, reality came in the form of a sharp turn, and I failed in 10 seconds. People who know me personally would say this 100% reflects my driving skills, but I disagree. 8 accidents isn't that bad. This was harder than I anticipated. I felt like a bull in a china shop looking for the nearest exit. I had to watch out for people trying to commit insurance fraud. Everything on the street breaks if you drive a little too close, and I had a phobia of sharp turns. To be fair, the roads were wet, but I eventually got the hang of driving defensively and making turns smoother. I tailed the militia vehicle for a few minutes, buying my time until I found a good opening and started firing. Good thing is the immobilizers had a decent firing distance, so I didn't have to get too overly aggressive and ride the militia's bumper. The last shot was butthole clenching because after the hit, the slow-mo sequence happened and the Batmobile drifts towards a railing and stops a pixel hair away. Next is Scarecrow's safe house. The game wants you to smash in through the ceiling to progress the story, but if we do that, we'd be forced to damage property, and we can't do that. When we go to try to get in the other way, through the front door, it's locked from the inside. So, in order to progress through the game, we're gonna have to damage property, but only if it progresses the main story. And to help keep track of it, I'll put up a counter and I'll add to it every time this occurs. With that out of the way, I made every woman's dream come true by breaking the glass ceiling. The first tank mission was an endurance test. I really don't have any room for error, even though it's a 2-lane street. The Batmobile takes up half the road. The street lights, trash cans, and cars rule the sidewalk, so I only have enough space to do tight 3-point turns. And the militia drones are being little a-holes by hugging the sides of buildings, so I can't fire at them because the shrapnel from the explosion would damage the architecture. So for now, I'm playing defense until there's a good opening, doing my best not to get hit by missiles, baiting them into coming more in the center so I can engage them and not getting too close to the curb because I know my big clumsy ass will destroy something. Eventually the drones got aggressive and came out to the open road. One by one they dropped, each time making sure my aim was spot on. I made sure to keep them in the middle of the street so the damage would be kept at minimum. Patience was a cornerstone of the plan for this mission, and it paid off once the last drone was destroyed. This is an example of the lengths I had to go through to get the Batmobile to GCPD headquarters. I went full method for this. You can't say I was cutting corners in this challenge. Even though I looked like I'm a part of the Veterans Day parade, tank mode was the best mode for travel. It was good for mobility, made turns easier to make, and I could react to pedestrians acting like squirrels. I traded speed and fun for control and slow and steadiness, and the wide camera angle was a bonus. The vandalism cost in this next section is necessary to find out Scarecrow's whereabouts, and it's definitely going to burn a hole through Bruce's checkbook. Once we make this simple jump on the roof, we gotta turn the rooftops into a Hot Wheels track, because Rocksteady needs to have the Batmobile do flips and tricks to justify it being the central part of the game, and we just barely clear that jump. Now we have to maneuver around this bridge to avoid damaging the spirit sculptures on the corners. Everything is going according to plan until we come across the dumbest thing in the whole game. This goddamn box. No matter how many times I try to kick it, it won't move. Mind you, it's windy and raining on this roof. The box is actually rendered to the concrete in the middle of the corner that we need to get around to finish this level. Can't go right, there's a ball in my face. And on the left, I can't jump the corner because I'll fall off. I don't know if the developers are the most clairvoyant people alive or this is a funny case of coincidence. Whatever it is, I have to add it to the counter because it's property of the building and it's unavoidable, even though it doesn't make sense for the box to be on the roof. Whose idea was this? Safety hazard aside, I'm impressed that the winch can support the Batmobile's weight. I'm not going to count the box breaking because I believe that I could have gotten around it. Just like the rooftop mission, we have to arrive in style. I didn't know if this was damaging property until I saw the door bending at the top. The jump across the bay is possible to make cleanly. It took me about 4 tries to get it. At the dock, we have to do the same thing we did at the safe house. We have to break another glass ceiling for feminism. We have to break this wall and this gas valve to discover this worker. And when you think about this puzzle, it's pretty dark. These guys probably killed him, sealed off that wall, and we're just chilling in the next room like everything was fine, waiting for Batman to show up. Then we rinse and repeat for this worker who probably died in the same sequence of events as his colleague. At least he survived. The trip to the last hostage has an overabundant amount of property damage that I have to group them all together. When we get to the fork, it doesn't matter which way we go, there's gonna be something we have to run over. The way I went had less things in my way, in my opinion. I guess the door we came in through automatically locks you inside. We can't get out of this chamber until I shoot this militia soldier through the glass panel with the Batmobile. Once we rescue this guy and give him some fresh air, we gotta head back inside to meet with Scarecrow and finish his mission. But before we do that, we have to complete the turret tutorial. Breaking the turret doesn't count because even though it's required, it's not property of Ace Chemicals. And screw the militia. Once we destroy actual property of Ace Chemicals, the next move is to deal with this group of militia. And as you can see, the room is full of fragile property. The first thing I have to do is to lead the group away from that area and into the street. I have to keep all the combat in the road. I got a bit too careless and threw a couple guys towards the back room, but luckily the poles were there. The usual strategy is to take out the medics, but since they're hanging back on the floorboards, I can only keep an eye on them for now. Once my attention went elsewhere, the first medic runs in to resuscitate a fallen soldier, then the second one does the same thing. I got to the first one in time, but another soldier bear hugs me from behind, and the second medic gets to finish his revive. Frustrated by this, I gave him a back fist, and his friend gets the back grapple. With the medics out of the picture, the remaining soldiers go down in short order, one after another. When the last concussion is served, the level is finished. The last two things to destroy are this electrical panel and the door to the mixing chamber so we can escape the toxin explosion and move on to the second part of the game. On the way back to GCPD, we find a line of cones blocking our route. The solution was to simply kick and scoot the cones to clear the road for the Batmobile to pass. Rocksteady's trying to keep me on my toes. The second chase mission added an extra layer of difficulty by adding another vehicle to the mix, but the strategy was still the same. Keep distance, drive defensively, and remember the routes. Do all these correctly, and eventually an opportunity will come to attack. When attacking, know when to apply the pressure. Stay patient, this isn't a race. You can do everything right, but it only takes one bad bump to end it all. So this time, it had to be done perfectly. I do admit that this maneuver was pretty risky, but I was in the zone. I played more aggressively to keep up the pressure, and that paid off when the final hit landed. The same was done to the second Humvee. Good thing the missiles tracked the target, or otherwise I would have been screwed. The aggressive approach worked out this time, and the sixth and final round finished the mission. I have to disarm this bomb, which will destroy this beam. I gotta break this fan to blow up this wall, to remove this vent grate, to fight this bastard and his bastard friends. This is the most annoying combat mission of the game to this point, because everything in this room breaks, and I mean everything. This room must be made of paper mache, because a single punch can send the guy to a wall, breaking off tiles. Any contact to a chair turns it into shrapnel. After the 18th try, I thought it was good, until I saw this triple counter sent the soldier to the wall, breaking the tiles. By the time I realized what happened, the mission was already over. It is possible though, but this showed me how much more difficult this challenge will get the more we play. In order to continue, we have to break a little bit off this wall. The tanks won't attack until I do. Then once they're aggro, they'll break the rest of the wall, allowing me to gun them down. When you've done one or two pursuit missions, you've done them all in my opinion. It was rinse and repeat, but I have to show how the mission ended. We literally ran into each other. It was pretty funny. The only thing me and Batman have in common is our love for spraying our goo everywhere. The airships are my favorite part of the game because the puzzles have optional damage-free solutions. For instance, instead of over tilting the crate and cracking the glass, we can just ease the crate down to the bottom without damaging the glass to get access to the hatch. I don't know exactly where these crates go, so I moved them just enough to squeeze past to the lower floor. The only things that have to be broken on the first airship are this breakable wall to put that crate into and this vent grate. He should be thankful that this isn't Arkham City. To get to the second airship, we gotta glide kick through the window and give this guy a seizure. We have to move over a crate to break this panel of glass, but not enough to break this window. The crate got just enough momentum to break the glass and a light fixture, and when I bring it back to the right and release the controls, it just slides down to the window and we move on to the next section. To get into the parking garage, we have to get a little creative. To get past the fence and the road signs, I have to bait the militia into shooting them down. It took a while, but the armed soldier eventually did his part of the plan. I did my part by committing multiple counts of vehicular assault. With that done, you can head to the garage. This tank mission is a lot like the combat mission in the waiting room. The fighting is done at tight space, and every move you make, there's a chance that you might break something. So I stayed on one side the whole time, playing defense, and used the support beams as cover until openings came. Once the garage was littered with debris and destruction, I got more comfortable in attacking. The real loser here is Wayne Corp's Premium, because their insurance company is going to have to pay a lot of money out for the damages. In order to give Ivy's plant the full experience of the vibrator feature on the Batmobile, we have to go up those stairs. But with the Batmobile's pear-shaped body, it's impossible to get through the space between the poles without breaking one. Luckily, there's a drone that we can bait into helping us with our dilemma. If you look ahead, you can see that it was a success. After we take care of the drone, we can go up the stairs to rock that plant's world. Next, we have to rewire this control panel to blow up this computer and fight Albert King, the hardest Joker clone and the hardest combat level in the game. Kimbo Slice and Harley's goons chose the worst possible place to set up shop. If I had a dime for every time I jumped into a barrel or a cactus, I'd probably have about $2. The strategy was just to focus on Albert, because the thugs were just going to get in the way. Plus, even if I did try to thin out the herd, Krusty the Clown here would just chase me down and sock me in the face. The best spot for the level was near the houses, because it had the most open space to work cleanly. If Robin wasn't available to help me out on this level, it would have took me double the amount of time to finish. And I know my mental health couldn't handle it. After we take down Goliath, the rest of the thugs went down pretty easily afterwards. This is proof that the damages were done by Robin. The last thing of note in this section is the wall we have to blow up to take out this gunner. In order to avoid hitting this car when you call for the Batmobile to get the next upgrade, I have to call the Batmobile outside the parking lot and use tank mode to get there. Just like back at Ace Chemicals, we have to bend open this door. In the tunnels, there are some signs and cones I have to run over to blow up these drones to get to the other end where the property damage is unavoidable. Next is the graveyard tank battle with help from Ivy. She definitely pulled her own weight, and all I had to do was take down the tanks that were out of her range. I tried to stay in this area that's clear of any headstones and stood my ground the best I could. The only problem I ran into was when I blew up this helicopter, the tree lost a couple branches, but I didn't restart because when I blew up this AT-AT looking thing, it definitely destroyed something, and I don't know if it moved, so I figured it's some damage that I had to do. So I feel that I should add a tally to the counter because of it. Small hiccup aside, I feel like this was one of the better performances I've had during this challenge, and now I need the confidence for the next mission. The Cloudburst boss fight is the one I've dreaded for the whole challenge. I'm playing hide and seek with the bitter zombie stepson driving a tank with a sub-nuclear bomb, all while trying to drive without swerving or crashing into anything when there's lasers and grenades shooting at me. I'm not the best driver. I can only drive around for a handful of blocks before I run into something. Adding an extra handicap to an already difficult level is something that I'm regretting right now. When I restart the mission, we're face to face, and I don't have many ways of escaping without breaking the environment. In the next attempt, I try to find an exit, but the Arkham Knight is putting a lot of pressure on me. Then I panicked and tried to squeeze through this gap and got punished for it. To get out of this soft lock, I have to bite the bullet and break a few things to get out of this area and restart somewhere else. After a minute or so of driving for my life, he finally gives up the chase and I can restart in the better area. This is a much better starting point. The first getaway was the best display of driving that I've done in the whole game. I was hauling ass, but handling really well, making good turns, and had some near misses to a couple traffic drums. I thought the swerving motions would make the lasers miss, but I was wrong. The second getaway was like a scene out of a horror movie. I was running for my life and turned the corner and the tank jumps out like it's Jason Voorhees. My only escape from the pursuit is to jump off the ledge into the sewer ravine. The third getaway was my sloppiest. I drove in too close to the curb and clipped this stoplight, and I ran over one of those construction barrels. The reason why I didn't restart when those citations happened was because whenever you have to face a Cloudburst tank, you're going to be destroying property driving in reverse anyways. So as much as I wanted to be perfect during the getaway drives, it would have been in vain. But actually yes, it is possible to be perfect on the getaway drives. It will be very difficult and it will take a dozen runs to complete. Hear me out. I'm in no way trying to use that as an excuse or be lazy or careless. That was my best run and I have been trying to complete that mission for days. And I'll be revisiting this challenge in the future to right my wrongs. The next thing to do is to disarm that vest that guy is wearing. But in order to do that, we have to tear through the projector screen. After we destroy a couple more panels and some miscellaneous objects, we run into this psychopath again, and the damage is unavoidable. Besides blowing through the entrances, inside the tunnels there's a lot of construction equipment in the way, so it's impossible to avoid running over something unless you're a savage and wall ride all the way throughout them, but I don't think that's even possible. In the Jason Todd sniper mission, the only thing that has to break is the glass ceiling that gives us cover to grapple up to him. And the last two things to break are this fan and this grate to die time and time again in the last tank mission. The militia destroy all the property themselves, so all I had to do was pick them off. Since these are Oracle assisted takedowns, they won't be counted against us, which makes this the end of the challenge. So to answer the question, can you beat Batman Arkham Knight without damaging property? No, not a chance. Because of the absurd amount that you have to destroy, it's impossible. Rocksteady went out of their way to make this a demolition simulator, masquerading as a Batman game. It became more about how much you actually destroy versus finding ways to get around it. Obviously, it's not designed to be played the way I did. You're in a giant tank fighting a military force, blowing up shit left and right, and it wouldn't be an Arkham game if Batman's not kicking in grates and blowing up walls. But I had fun doing it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have fun, be safe, and be smart. See you in the next video.